What is up, guys? My name is Sit Corrigan, and we are back on F1 24 Driver Career. This is Season 2, Episode number 13 today for the Portuguese Grand Prix. Coming up. So we are coming off a race around Mexico. Go see that episode first if you haven't seen it yet before you see this one. I took a grid penalty around Mexico and started in 15th. I was able to recover up to 5th, and Leclerc's last lap overtake of Verstappen kept us 1 point ahead in the Drivers' Championship. But based on the last few races, you would have to say that the momentum has really swung in Red Bull's favor. Fortunately for me and the team, we do have several upgrades heading into this race weekend. My major weight reduction upgrade has already successfully gone on the car, and Hulkenberg's major rear downforce upgrade will also be going onto the car. And those two major upgrades have pushed us past Ferrari in the development chart. Unfortunately for us, Red Bull is also bringing an upgrade package to Portugal, and the major DRS upgrade that I'm developing now is absolutely with an eye towards our next race in Las Vegas. And in the standings, it's a 2-horse race out front, with Verstappen only trailing me now by 1 point, and with Leclerc's win in Mexico, our fight for second place in the Constructors is kind of on life support now. There's also an intense battle for 4th in the Constructors, with Mercedes only 2 points back of Aston Martin, and McLaren another 13 points back. McLaren could still manage to capture 4th, despite both of the drivers struggling for form since Piastri's podium in the Netherlands, especially with Alonso scoring most of the points for Aston Martin.
Okay, mate, I'm pleased to say that our new parts have come through without any issue, so they'll be on the car ready for the next race weekend.
And of course, Hulk has spent his resources on 2 reliability upgrades when we really need to be laser focused on performance updates for the rest of the season. Brilliant, Nico. Thank you for that. Let's see if we can maximize our new upgrade package. Let's head to qualifying.
Now practice is over, qualifying awaits. Welcome along from Portugal and the fearsome Portimao. Time to light up those timesheets and see who can take pole today.
My first run here in qualifying, as I have a bit of a snap through the first corner, as I'm struggling a little bit to come to grips with the new handling since the upgrades went on the car. As we go through turn 4 and I completely lose the back end, and luckily don't suffer any damage. So after a recharge lap, we're going again. This time I was much more cautious through Sector 1. Being completely honest, the car felt awful at this point. Very stiff, and like the rear end wants to swap around on me through every corner. But I'm still suffering with understeer on corner entry. And maybe I got the setup wrong, taking too many clicks of rear wing off, thinking that that rear downforce upgrade would do more than it has. But as we come through the final corner, we set the fastest lap so far. And that is good enough to see us through in first, as Hulkenberg has managed to find his way through in 4th, just behind the 2 Red Bulls, showing the car definitely has pace and that the upgrade package is working, at least thus far. Hopefully Hulkenberg can build on that for the rest of qualifying. And the big surprise of Q1 is Piastri, who's knocked out in the McLaren down in 17th. So he's left himself a huge task for tomorrow. As I head out on my final run in Q2, I did do an early banker lap on a used set of softs, trying to get a feel for this car, which is very peaky feeling and definitely on a knife's edge, but the stopwatch doesn't lie. As I put in 2 purple sectors, the lap time is definitely there, and I am a little bit nervous for how the car is going to feel in the race tomorrow on full fuel, but I guess I would rather have a very unstable feeling car that's fast than vice versa. I did lose a little bit of time through the long turn 14, as our car still struggles through long corners. It is still a personal best in the final sector, and good enough to see us through in first, a 10th ahead of Verstappen in second, and our teammate did manage to make it through in 10th. So Hulkenberg will make Q3 for the first time this season. Hopefully that means he's finding his form. Better late than never, as Norris makes it through in 5th, further highlighting how bad Piastri's Q1 exit is. And Stroll is the surprise exit of Q2, knocked out down in 12th.
Okay, engines fired up, we're set.
And my final run in Q3, I definitely struggled to put the kind of lap together that I managed in the first 2 sessions, and my early banker lap on used softs was only good enough for 8th, and I was definitely feeling the pressure to put in a much better lap, so I might have been overdriving a little bit. Little mistakes, like too much curb on the exit of turn 3 and a lockup into the hairpin of turn 5, started creeping into my driving, and with the very peaky handling characteristics of the car, overdriving is definitely not the best way to extract the fastest lap time. And the qualifying results so far this weekend have shown that the development chart really only shows where everyone is at in very broad strokes.
30 seconds left in the session.
Individual driver performances and focus can really make all the difference on a race weekend. As I head through the very long turn 14, I have managed to find nearly half a second over my banker lap, and despite my many mistakes, I have set a purple sector 1 and a personal best in sector 2. As I head to the line, that's good enough for 3rd for the moment. There are a couple cars on laps behind me.
Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow. We head into the Grand Prix.
So despite a couple of mistakes, I will be starting on the 2nd row next to Sergio Perez and ahead of Max Verstappen, who only managed to qualify 5th. My teammate will be starting down in 10th, right next to Yuki Tsunoda in our rival Ferrari. Let's see if we can break recent form and gain some points on Verstappen in the title fight. Let's head to the grid.
The Formula One circus has made its way to the southern coast of Portugal this week and is preparing for what I think will be a terrific race here in Portimao. 2.9 miles of track at Portimao feature 15 turns, 9 to the right and 6 to the left. A lot going on at this track, a lot of elevation changes that'll affect the driver's braking and acceleration. Keep an eye out for the DRS zone on the final straight. That'll be the setup for a lot of today's overtaking opportunities. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have a Haas, Perez, Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, Hamilton, Norris, Tsunoda, Hulkenberg, Stroll, Ocon, Bottas, Gasly, Oscar Piastri, Ricciardo, Joe, Sargent, Sainz, and Alex Albon picks up the last spot on the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway.
So no penalties in the top 10, and I've decided to try to maximize this opportunity, having qualified ahead of Verstappen, to go on the aggressive strategy starting on the softs. And it looks like a lot of drivers have decided to go that route.
It's good, but we need to learn the gears, so go into each one when you can. We're going to need some work on the brakes, so put some energy into them and warm the tyres as well, please.
Except the pole sitter Leclerc, who has decided to start the race on the medium tires. So will that leave him vulnerable at the start of this race?
Parking there, mate. Let's make sure we get the edge on the surrounding drivers as the lights go out.
And the 5 red lights. The Portuguese Grand Prix is underway. As I get a bit of a slow start, I bog down a little bit in second gear and get a little bit of wheel spin in third, as Alonso has another epic start. Having already cleared Perez, I have the better racing line around the outside as I try to get back past the Aston Martin. Still side by side on the exit of turn 3, as Alonso tries to keep his foot in through the uphill turn 4, but he's forced to back out of it. And I do manage to recapture third, and Leclerc has done an amazing job on those mediums, holding off Russell, who started on the softer compound. And hopefully as we go deeper into this race, Russell's pace will start to fall off like it did in Mexico, as the Mercedes seems a lot harder on their tires than the other top teams are. As we head on to the end of lap 4, everyone is settled into a bit of a DRS train. Most importantly for us, Verstappen has lost 2 positions from the start, running down in 7th at the moment and seemingly struggling to make his way forward. Tsunoda is the big winner in the early stages, having moved up from 9th up to 6th, as Mark is giving us the hurry up to get past Russell in the Mercedes. As he has fallen outside the DRS of Leclerc, we're going to use a little bit of battery, and Russell's going to be a bit of a sitting duck without the DRS. As Russell goes defensive,
yes, mate, we hit the target. Nice work.
we go around the outside through the first corner. I actually think you might be better off through that first corner just keeping the racing line if you're under pressure from the car behind, as that corner kind of pinches in and you can carry more speed around the outside. And just like I predicted earlier in the race, Russell's pace has fallen off as the tire wear has begun to kick in. We check in on our teammate who's already dropped out of the points in 11th, and having lost the DRS to Stroll in 10th, he's coming under pressure from Ocon in the Alpine, and the Renault-powered car makes short work of my teammate going up the inside. Hülkenberg was smart and held the racing line. There was just no way for him to defend without DRS, and 1 lap later, Hülkenberg's under pressure from the other Alpine of Gasly. This time he does have the DRS, and he takes the inside line. Gasly's able to carry more speed, and Hülkenberg loses another position, as Verstappen, who has spent the first 10 laps down in 7th, is finally putting pressure on the second Ferrari of Tsunoda, going around the outside through the first corner, up into 6th, but also showing that the mighty Red Bull that showed so much pace at the front of the field over the last several races isn't as strong of a car when it's in traffic, as I have to go slightly defensive into the hairpin to dissuade Russell from trying to make a move, as Leclerc has left us all in the dust. As the tire wear is kicked in, I've begun to struggle for pace. The car actually felt pretty good over the first 10 laps, but as the tire wear began to kick in, the stiff, edgy feeling from qualifying has crept back into the handling, and my only saving grace is that the Mercedes is slower in a straight line than we are, and I've been able to use the battery to defend from Russell. And at the end of lap 13, our pit window is open and I am coming in. Russell continues on. As I have a bit of a lockup, I almost missed the pit limiter line, and with Russell going on for an extra lap, we might be able to get a nice undercut on the Mercedes driver, maybe get ourselves out of his DRS range. We have a slow pit stop.
Seems to have been a problem removing the right rear wheel. We need to try and put it behind us though, and let's finish this race strong.
Come on guys, we cannot have operational errors like this, not this late in the season.
Strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now.
So a nearly 5-second pit stop. We lost at least 1 place to Alonso. We're gonna have to see if we lost any more. As the rest of the field pits, we'll see where we filter back in. But we for sure went in ahead of Alonso and have come out nearly 2 seconds behind him.
Burning through fuel a bit quicker than we'd like, so let's try and make it last for now, please.
And now we're gonna have to do a little bit of lifting and coasting to save some fuel, but it's gonna have to wait, as that slow pit stop has allowed the second Red Bull of Perez to close to within DRS of me. And you know Red Bull will be on the radio immediately with Perez, telling him to put me under pressure, as Perez has a little bit of a look through turn 1 but decides to back out of it, as Perez would love nothing more than to improve his standing within Red Bull by helping out his teammate, passing his title rival. And at the back of the field, Albon's day goes from bad to worse, having started from the back of the field today for taking grid penalties for engine components. There's smoke billowing out of the back of the Williams, and Albon just can't catch a break. I really hope for his sake that it wasn't one of the brand new components that failed, as the Thai Brit driver parks it up. And on lap 18, Leclerc comes in and makes his pit stop. He will come back out into the lead, but he's coming out on hard tires. Ferrari clearly don't think they have the tire wear to do the medium soft strategy. So will that give Alonso, who's in second place on the mediums, an opening to attack Leclerc? And Russell must have had a problem in the pit stop phase as well, as he's all the way down in 6th place behind his teammate. And more importantly for our season, Verstappen is down in 9th place. So if it finished right now, Verstappen would only be scoring 2 points out of this race.
Oh, great stuff. You hit that target. Really good job. Okay, gap to the car ahead, 4.0 seconds.
As I don't take my own advice and try to cover the inside line and nearly let Perez go around the outside through the first corner. We banged tires through that turn, but neither one of us got any damage. The second Red Bull driver is putting me under immense pressure right now, forcing me into a defensive move into turn 5. As Perez runs deep into the hairpin, and that's going to give Hamilton a run up the inside of the second Red Bull. Hamilton, who's had a very quiet season, is helping me to create a little bit of a gap to Perez, who is the faster Red Bull driver today. And at the front of the field, Alonso is going for a move on Leclerc. Leclerc goes defensive, but Alonso is through, up into the lead, and I just realized that Ferrari has gone medium hard. So Alonso, who's on the faster tires right now, takes over the lead of the race. And will Ferrari's conservative tire strategy pay off in the closing laps, or has Ferrari mucked up the strategy and given a win away today? As Verstappen tries to go around the outside of Tsunoda, who is on the medium tires, so Tsunoda's on the more aggressive strategy, as Verstappen does get through up into 8th. But where has Verstappen's pace gone from the last several races? It's very perplexing, as Leclerc is looking to come back at Alonso, forcing the Aston Martin driver into a defensive move. And if Leclerc can stay close like this into the closing laps...
Okay, mate, we didn't get what we needed there, I'm afraid. But head down, chin up, and let's focus on the rest of the race.
The tire advantage will swing his way, as Perez tries to attack me into the first corner, but the outside line allows me to carry the speed and hold on to third. And Red Bull will be desperate to get Perez past me, as Verstappen has really struggled for pace today.
Okay, gap ahead, 6.7 seconds.
And with only 1 point between Verstappen and me going into this race, any points Perez could take off me could really help to limit the damage heading into our next race in Las Vegas. And if Verstappen doesn't find a way to come back, and I do end up winning the Drivers' Championship, this is one of those races he's going to look back on as a missed opportunity to win his 6th World Drivers' Championship in our alternate timeline, as Stroll makes his way past Tsunoda up into 9th, and Tsunoda's struggles continue as he has a huge lockup into the third corner, opening up the window for Gasly to attack him for the final points paying position. Tsunoda does have the DRS down towards turn 5, as Piastri looks to get in on the action as well, as Tsunoda and Gasly go side by side through the hairpin. And this could be good news in our side quest of capturing second in the constructors, as Tsunoda has fallen all the way outside the points. The constructors battle is of secondary concern, as at worst we finish third, which would still be Haas's best ever constructors finish.
And gap to the car in front, 8.9 seconds.
As Perez again forces me to go defensive into turn 5, as I am starting to feel the tire wear on these mediums, as I did come in a few laps earlier than the Red Bull behind me. My sole focus now is on consolidating this podium position, as Alonso and Leclerc have completely checked out at the front of the field, as Tsunoda is coming under pressure from Gasly, and Gasly will be desperate to finish in the points, as Alpine only have 9 points over the course of the entire season, which is pretty disappointing considering they are a factory team. Coming to the end of lap 31, and Verstappen is quickly running out of laps to make any kind of move forward. He's still struggling in the DRS train, down in 8th, 3 places further back than he qualified, seemingly struggling for pace on both the softs and the mediums. And as it stands, I would take a 12-point lead into the next race around Las Vegas. And on the penultimate lap, I am really starting to struggle on these medium tires. I'm starting to think that Ferrari might have pulled a blinder with Leclerc's strategy, as I make a mistake running wide in turn 8, dipping a tire on the gravel, nearly losing the back end as I try to get back on the power, as Perez sticks his nose in, going up the inside through turns 10 and 11, as I have a snap over the curb on the exit of turn 11, I do manage to stay ahead, but it forces me to go defensive into turn 13, as now the Red Bull is right on the back of us, heading on to the final lap.
There's one of the Aston Martin cars ahead of you.
Yes, thank you, Mark. He's 12 seconds ahead, and we are going on to the final lap, so that's useful information. Thank you for that.
Okay, final lap. Let's go. Final lap.
As I'm using the rest of my battery to defend from Perez down the long start-finish straight, and I do manage to keep him behind through the first complex of corners. Perez will have another bite of the apple with DRS down the shorter DRS straight, as I have a bit of a slide through the uphill turn 4, but I should have enough battery to hold off the Red Bull over the course of this shorter DRS zone. And thankfully for me, even the second Red Bull of Perez has seemingly struggled for straight line speed today. And at the front of the field, Ferrari has pulled a blinder with their strategy, as Leclerc pilots his Ferrari through the final corners. He is going to win the Portuguese Grand Prix, and that's back-to-back wins for Leclerc and back-to-back podiums for Alonso. And as I make my way through the final corners, I have managed to hold back the second Red Bull of Perez and get myself up onto the podium in third.
Yes, mate, I'll take that. Well done. We're really happy with the podium down here, so well done. Yes!
Go, go, go for Charles Leclerc as he takes the checkered flag and wins.
Well, that's 2 wins in a row for them now. That's really going to help them gain confidence and start to build that momentum that they're really going to be looking for.
So Ferrari was correct to put Leclerc on the harder tire compounds as he wins his second race in a row.
Here come our winners now, a thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again.
So Ferrari and good strategy are not words you hear together in recent memory in F1, but Ferrari put it together today and managed to grab the victory. So Leclerc's back-to-back wins pretty much locked down second in the constructors for them, unless Hülkenberg has a monster final 3 races and Leclerc's form suddenly falls off. My focus will shift exclusively to the drivers from here on out, as I gain 11 points on Verstappen. I guess even the best drivers in the world are entitled to one bad day. But if I do manage to win the Drivers' Championship and it's close, this will be one of the races I look back at as a huge turning point in the season, as Gasly does manage to hold on to 10th, knocking Tsunoda completely out of the points. Unfortunately, our teammate, who looked strong during his first stint, finishes down in 13th, and with Leclerc's back-to-back wins, he's made himself a dark horse candidate for the Drivers' Championship, finding himself only 33 points back with 3 races remaining. He'll be waiting in the wings, hoping Verstappen and I take each other out, and he can come in and steal it away from both of us. And with Leclerc's win, we lose more ground in the constructors. We now trail Ferrari by 45 points for second, and only 5 points separate Aston Martin and Mercedes in the battle for 4th, with Aston Martin only gaining a mere 3 points today, even with Alonso's podium, as Hamilton and Russell managed to finish in 5th and 6th, both outscoring Stroll, who only managed 2 points down in 9th. And the battle for 4th in the constructors will come down to how well Stroll finishes out the season. And my rating will get a nice boost with another podium finish. And I have to say that this race has given me a lot of confidence that I actually can win this championship against Verstappen. Because going into the next several races, as the team has a fairly large upgrade package scheduled to go onto the car, which will make us even more competitive with Red Bull, even if Verstappen rediscovers his recent dominant form. I also have another home race to look forward to around Las Vegas, which will give me extra motivation to perform well. So I feel like the momentum, which I lost around Austin, has swung back into my favor. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for this week. I'll see you next week in Las Vegas. Goodbye.